Welcome to my review of the Messerschmitt BF109 G-10. This is a 48th scale plastic model kit from Revell and only the second kit in this scale I've built lately. The first one was the Eurofighter Typhoon Blackjack that you can see here. A detailed video about this build can be found on my channel. The first thing I did to enhance the overall quality of the Messerschmitt kit was to add rivets all over the model. For that purpose I used a circular disc saw attached to the spring of a clothes peg. In the meantime I received a rivet maker from Revell for my birthday. However, why not use what you might already have? When recreating the rivets I roughly followed some blueprints and images of the real counterpart of the model, but it's not entirely accurate. This kit is more or less a beginner's kit with only 40 parts and not a lot of detail. As you can see, they even molded some text on the horizontal stabilizer. Of course I had to sand this down, I'm pretty sure this wasn't on the real BF109. Another area that I tried to improve were the exhausts. Instead of buying some expensive aftermarket resin, I just drilled holes into them. Then I added the air intake and glued the wings together. Next I worked on the cockpit. I painted it in RLM 66 and just added the decal for the instrument panel. The side panels were painted in RLM 02 and there's a bit of detail on the side panels, which was a positive surprise. Another pleasant surprise was that the fuselage parts actually fitted together nicely. Joining the fuselage with the wings resulted in only a minor gap. A bit of filler was needed, but all in all I didn't expect such a good fit given the age of this kit. Up next I had to mask off the clear parts. To make things easier I got myself some cheap masks. The application was straightforward, but the adhesiveness could have been better. I glued the clear parts in place with white glue. This glue doesn't fog up the clear parts and dries transparent. After priming the 109 with Mr. Finishing Surfacer, I airbrushed RLM 76 on the wings and sides of the fuselage. Then I masked off some areas on the underside. This particular 109 had some bare metal panels on the wings. I used MRP silver to paint these. The result was nice and shiny. Then it was time to paint the upper side. I started my usual pre-shading process by using this template. Usually I just spray on random patterns of whatever paints I got at hand. As you can see, the manual suggests to use RLM 74 and RLM 82 for the camouflage. However, the paints I tried didn't match the colored image, nor did they match reference materials in my books. As you can see here on the right, the RLM 82 suggested by the manual is clearly incorrect. Therefore I used RLM 75 and 74 for the camo. I airbrushed the RLM 75 in thin layers so the pre-shading would still be visible in the end. Then I used Patafix poster tag to mask off the areas painted with RLM 75. You can also use masking tape, but the poster tag usually gives a smoother transition between the colors. I continued with the RLM 74, again trying to use thin layers. The result upon removing the Patafix was quite good, even though I had to make a few corrections. Previously I had also masked off the sides painted in RLM 76. Since there was a noticeable hard edge between the light blue and the camouflage now, the subsequent step involved mottling to soften the transition. This part is quite tricky and my previous attempts also didn't lead to the desired result. Anyways, I gave it another try using MRP paints. I lowered the pressure on my compressor and carefully airbrushed these thin layers of paint on the sides, beginning with the larger spots. What worked best for me was to position the airbrush close to the model and only use a minimal amount of paint. I repeated the process with the RLM75, but still wasn't satisfied with the transition between the light blue and camo. Therefore, I added more paint along this hard edge to refine the transition. This took me quite some time, so the next time I paint such a camo, I might as well do it all freehand without any masking. I have to say that I'm really satisfied with the MRP paint range. My previous attempts to create this mottling effect with acrylics were not successful, often resulting in a clogged airbrush or paint splattering all over the place regardless of the thinners and drying retarders I used. When I was satisfied with the overall paint job, I masked off and painted the engine exhausts. Then I did some detail painting using fine brushes, for example at the guns here. Also the panels for the trim were painted red. In my opinion, it's these small details that let a model come to life and stand out. Despite the additional effort and masking involved, the end result is well worth the investment. Another valuable technique to get realistic results is weathering. I started the process by spraying Ammo's dirt shader along the areas affected by the exhausts. That didn't work out well, so I also used Tamiya's Weathering Master. However, the glossy surface may have hindered the effectiveness of this approach as well. I revisited that area later to try out different weathering techniques. A lot of time also went into chipping on the propeller and spinner. First up, I sprayed on metallic paint. After sealing it with varnish, I airbrushed AK's worn effects on it. You can also try chipping fluids from other brands or even hairspray to achieve similar effects. Once dry, I added a few coats of RLM02. To initiate the chipping process, I stippled on water with a stiff brush. Then I started scratching off the paint with a toothpick. For some reason, large chunks of paint came off in some areas. Anyways, this was only the first layer of chipping. Following another layer of varnish, I once again sprayed on the chipping fluid. RLM70 was then applied as a final layer of paint. And again I added water to reactivate the worn effects. Despite my efforts to be more careful while removing some of the paint, I didn't get the effect I hoped for, because of the large chunks of paint that came off. The good thing is that the propeller still rotates after assembly. Additionally, I enhanced realism by drilling out the gun barrel. Then it was time to apply the spiral decal to the spinner. I already expected it to be tricky, so I cut it in 2 parts to make the application easier. Nevertheless, this was quite a challenge, and I'm pretty sure that this decal is just too large to fit properly. Anyways, I continued with the application of the remaining decals. This process was quite simple and the surfaces were smooth enough to avoid most of the decals from silvering. I also used setting solution for better adherence to the surfaces. Another decal I cut into separate parts was the decal for the walkways. In my opinion, it's less frustrating to invest more time and making your life easier than rushing through it. This band around the tail of the 109 was also kind of tricky, so I got myself the proper RLM paints to paint this area on future models. Following another gloss coat to seal all the previous work, it was time for some fun with oils. As you can see, I started using brown oils on the underside of the wings. I used a brush dampened in white spirit to drag these dirt and oil streaks in the direction of the airflow. As you can see, most of this was removed in the process, achieving subtle yet visible weathering effects. Then I also applied a wash to the panel lines and all the rivets created earlier. Damp kitchen paper was used to remove the excess. The purpose of a wash is to accentuate all the panel lines, rivets and recesses to enhance the overall depth and realism of the model. What I'm having trouble with is that I often end up removing too much of the wash, so the effect is barely noticeable. In the case of the 109, I just repeated the process and applied more layers of wash when I found that I had removed too much. On the other hand, it's easy to overdo this effect. What I can recommend is to get good reference material from books, magazines and online sources and try to recreate what you find there. Finally, the last steps for the 109 included the landing gear and a matte coat. Then I removed the masking tape from the canopy. Thanks to the white glue I used, it was easy to remove the clear part and give it another round of polishing. The finishing touch involved adding an antenna wire. This time I used a thin lead wire that I fixed with super glue. With this final challenge conquered, I declared my Revell BF109 G-10 project complete. I hope this video shows how much work I invest into my models. If I would show you all the steps taken to finish one of my models, my videos would be way too long, so hopefully you also appreciate how much time I invest into editing these build reviews. I don't have any sponsors whatsoever, so I'd really appreciate if you support my channel. Just check out the links in the description if you would like to contribute. Despite my initial reservations, based on past experiences with Revell kits, and considering how old these molds are, this kit was surprisingly good. Given the significant role of the BF109 in aviation history, you can expect more content about this iconic aircraft on my channel in the future. Please leave your feedback in the comments below and check out my other channels. I always love to interact with you, so feel free to contact me in any way. Work on my next models has already started, so if you want to see more, just subscribe. Thank you all for watching and bye!